So, on this episode of Boss Has the Ego, I will explain how I went from this to this using the gig economy.
Hooray, 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 hooray.
Disclaimer, this is my experience and my experience alone, okay? And here's FYI, when it comes down to the gig economy, this happened during the 2016, 2017. And usually with these apps, the reason why we were making so much money back then is because the app had a high volume of capital from investors that they can just burn through, okay? So I took advantage of this. And around that same time, the reports of Uber drivers not making money were starting to come in. Here's a note: if you can sign up for an app and be on the road within 30 minutes, that's a problem, because that means not only you, but me and anybody else can sign up to do this thing that everyone else is already doing. And if there are already a high volume of people already on the road, all right, that means the cost for people to make money start to go way below on the market, because there's so many people, so many drivers waiting for orders that they're willing to take anything, especially if they've been waiting in a certain spot like the airport or whatever for 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours with no bite. So that's why I'm making this disclaimer. Okay? And note, if you're doing Uber Eats, the only way you're making money is on a bike. Okay, so I remember around this time, I was still doing DoorDash and Postmates. Now, if you see right here, um, the last week of August 22nd, like the last week of August, or pretty much the last week of August, I'm bringing in 1,000. The next week 934. Mind you, I'm still doing DoorDash and Postmates at night. The situation is, around this time, DoorDash opened the floodgates for people. Anybody can just sign up and like start doing it. So the DoorDash market got oversaturated. They also expanded their map, because before they only deliver in certain areas in LA. They weren't delivering in like Huntington Park or South Central LA. They stuck to Santa Monica, the beach cities, Huntington Beach, OC. They were doing those areas, but nowhere where poor people were. Not poor, or poor people were at, pretty much. So I was bouncing back and forth. But in the summer of 2016, when they opened that up, like, I had to go, because I went from making 1,000 a week, which is still a lot of money even to today's standards, but that was a lot to me, to, all right, I gotta like bounce around to jump from DoorDash to Postmates to, and doing Instacart here and there. Around this time, they were just starting to do, beach cities was still like on the up and up. On top of that, Instacart worked with shifts. You had to sign up for shifts every Wednesday, but in order to sign up for shift every Wednesday early, you had to do a minimum of 20 hours. Not 20 hours of active delivery, but just 20 hours just online. You didn't have to deliver anything. It just shows that you were out there doing something, okay? But right around, I would say, I think it was the first week of October, they made the announcement that they was going to get rid of ships, and they were just going to go to the system like DoorDash and all that, where they're going to just throw out an order and anyone can take it if they want. Whoever want to take it, they can take it. Don't matter. There was no algorithm or anything like that. There was no bot navigating the system. This was all human that were doing all this. So just this, you see the spread. You know, you saw in August make 1,000 in the last 2 weeks. Last week in August, going to September 1,900, and then there was a dip, and then there was a dip. There was a dip. All right, and there's still all right money. Like I said, I was going between 3 apps, and now about to switch it up. About to switch it up, and now let's look at the spread. All right. So you see there, it's October, still October. All right, November. And around this time, I went to IAPA, you know, and then next thing all right, 1,100, and then 17, then 16. Around that time in December 19th to 25th, I went to Seattle, and I still was able to bring in that much, 17. You know, New Year's week, January 2nd to 8th, 1,000. Then January 9th, 2,000. January 16th to 27th, like 1,900. Then January 23rd to 29th, 1,956. And this is a lot of money real fast. And I'm just going and going like a nonstop like flow. Like anything that was like 1,200, like I traveled somewhere. I just went somewhere or I was doing some stuff, but the money was still coming in. You know what I'm saying? March 7th to March 27th to 2nd, that was emergency. All right, but 1,400. 500, another traveling. And then you got 11, 13, 1,000, 2,000 again, 1,200. And then, around June, it started to get funny. All right. And then around July, it's like, what is going on? What? And then August, look at, oh God. And that was it. Right there. Like, right there in that September, like, it was a wrap. Like, going from like 2,000 a week, I'll say average. I was averaging about 17,000 average. How about that? I mean, 1,700, not 1,000, 1,700 average. Because around that time in June, they opened the floodgates for anybody to just come in and just grab orders. And on top of that, what these apps do is they push veterans like me to the back of the line and let the new people in to gain experience, which is which is understandable but janky at the same time, because they're letting all these folks that are green out there to do the shopping for these folks, and a lot of them don't know what they're doing. And that's the thing with experience, they have to learn, in order to get better. But it's how they did it. Like, they push all of their workers to the back of the line where we wasn't even getting ordered because I just wasn't getting nothing. Also, this is an example in 2017, like, that's a week. Like, and active 13 hours, $331. Like, I was making no money. I was sitting there just waiting, and nothing was happening. But you look at the May, 60 active hours, $2,000. That's more than minimum wage, especially at the time. Minimum wage wasn't even 15 in Los Angeles at the time. But you seeing all this, and I'm bringing in all this money. Yeah. Like, of course, it gave me confidence. Of course, it made me feel good. And some folks probably wondering, like, what was my original plan when I started doing this? My plan was always to get some property in Inglewood before the SoFi Stadium and all that was built. Because over there in Inglewood, you can still get yourself a beat up hoopty of a home or a triplex. I was going for, like, I was trying to get into the Airbnb game. so I can just live in one spot and had income coming in from the other spots. And you could have at the time cash still get a home over there for $100,000. And some of them a little beat up, but not too beat up where the investment in it will be too much. And plus, I know how to do home improvement stuff like my father taught me. I'm still learning now. So I had an advantage. You know what I'm saying? But my original thing was I wanted to buy some property. I was going to grind this until I got to like maybe 20 or $30,000. Then go to my parents and try to get some capital off of them. Maybe get like 30 from my pops, 30 from my moms, and try to get some of these property that were just popping up in Inglewood before the stadium was built, before the Chargers and the Rams moved in. I was trying to just get some property over there originally and not buy a pumping up machine or any arcade machine. I wasn't even thinking about that because I felt that dream was dead. It was dead. It was gone. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think it was going to happen at all. But my father gave me an opportunity, a deal that I couldn't refuse. Because after all, the only thing I wanted to do in life, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, all I wanted to do was watch anime, play video games, stream video games, eat pizza, and travel. And I'm going to repeat that. Play video games, stream, eat some pizza, read manga, watch anime, travel. Like, I didn't have really high ambitions in life. You know what I'm saying? Because pretty much my life is set later on. Okay. Those are the six things I wanted to do, as well as pay off my student loans. I paid off my undergrad loan. I just haven't paid off my graduate loan. And which was the plan was to pay that, I can do whatever I want. And I could slowly save money for retirement because it wasn't going to matter then. Like, I wasn't really paying high rent. I was basically chilling. And the world was in my hands at that point. I already had a beat up, pump it up machine. It worked. It's fine. I had no reason to like upgrade. And sit here and have like the freedom to travel because I still want to go to Brazil. I still want to go to see Africa. I want to go and legitimately travel. At the time because I was not in no relationship. I had no obligations or anything like that. And I'm bringing in all this freaking money and I'm like, yeah, this was possible. And at moments like this, it gave me confidence because a year prior, I didn't know what I was going to do because I got laid off from my librarian gig. This is part one of this story. I'll explain more in the next chapter of this video.